Hello parents, this is Meredith Hung. I am doing a presentation on collaboration. This is a presentation that was originally given to teachers on a professional learning day. Collaboration, we try to use a lot of discussions and strategies where we have students involved in the learning and where we are actually just serving as facilitators and they are asking and answering questions. They're discussing things at eventually a very high level, and that's what we're kind of working towards. It involves inquiry because we're using the different levels of questions. And it sounds really great, and if you read this whole definition of collaboration, it's kind of the ideal model. But as I was talking with the teachers, we have to be able to get to this point, and it doesn't just happen magically. And so there's certain things that we try to do in our classrooms to reach that level of collaboration that we like to see. So the first step is really teaching them how to have respectful discussions. And this is something that you can do at home. You can't just throw students into a group and have them to discuss. And so we like to use certain AVID strategies or accountable talk in order to teach them how to have respectful discussions. So we have discussion norms. So you can see here, address others by name. And so when we're having maybe a Socratic seminar or a philosophical chairs, these are discussions that we'll have in class. I agree with Johnny. However, I also think, this, and it kind of adds to the discussion, and it also gives it some respect. And so even when they're having little quick games in class, I always have them address each other by name, thank their partner for helping them study, showing them what good manners look like in discussions and in the classroom and what respect looks like. So turning and facing the person that's talking to you, making eye contact, some of the things of speaker, listener, some of these things the students will do at home or on their own or outside of school, but you almost have to teach them these things separately in a classroom. And so we start with this and really try to reinforce it throughout the year and teaching them good discussion skills. So this is just kind of a continuation of discussion skills. So you see on the right there it says accountable talk. There's certain conversation starters that I like to use in class that a lot of the teachers are using. If you disagree, there is a way to respectfully disagree. And I've even started my own kids on this, where I actually have them, if they're disagreeing about something, that's okay, but they need to do it respectfully. So I disagree because, or I see what you're saying, have you thought of this? And reinforcing that at home with discussions that you have with them or that they have with their siblings or other people is always good stuff in order to support the teachers at school. So clarifying, probing for higher level questions. There's all sorts of different stems, and so I like to use this when we're having classroom discussions. So that they can refer back to what other people are saying and also to refer to the text, because teachers require, and during discussions and during collaborative projects, that kids are coming up with answers that are based in the text. And so a lot of it also has to do with going back to the text and looking at the text. And so there's a lot that we do in school as far as modeling. At home, certainly you model some of these discussion techniques for students. It feels strange sometimes and forced, but I found that by the end of the year, my students naturally do these things. They'll naturally turn and tell somebody, thank you for helping me study, when we're doing a game that we call Quiz Trade in class, and looking at people. And all I have to say now, really, by the end of the year is, turn and face the person that you're looking at. So it's just basic basic respect and what we expect in normal conversations. But when they're dealing with peers, sometimes they don't necessarily feel like those rules apply. And so just kind of going through all of those things. And there's a link there that kind of gives some more information about accountable talk that we've used quite often in the classroom. So at this point in my presentation, I wanted to share with the teachers some ways to get students talking to one another so that they can practice these discussions together. And so Think, Pair, Share is a great one. And this is where we have the students, we pose a question, whatever we're studying. It could be done as a warm-up. And they're going to answer the question. And sometimes it's open-ended. It's a higher level question, and they think about it and they write down their answer. Then you give them a set amount of time and they turn to a partner and share that information with the partner. And kind of discuss it with a partner. It's easier on that level, and they've had time to think about it, discuss it with a partner, and then we have them discuss it as a whole group, as a class. And this allows for much better discussion because they've had time to think. You're not just posing a higher level question and throwing it out to the students. They've had a chance to kind of think through the whole process, and then they have the opportunity to share. I find a lot more hands go up when you go through this process and let them collaborate a little bit before they're actually just sharing out with the class. And this is a great time to go, okay, remember when we're talking to our partners, we're looking at them, we're nodding, we're being good listeners, we're making eye contact and all of those things. And then there's a lot of other ways to build in ways for students to interact. And so these were just some of the strategies that I shared with the teachers. You know, you can't just throw them into a Socratic seminar. That's a very high level discussion. And so there's lots of little things that we do in our classrooms in order to kind of foster that, you know, those communication skills. And so quiz trade is one of the things I like to do for review. Intellectual ping pong is literally just kind of going back and forth on a topic after I've taught for 5 minutes, stopping and taking a break and having the students to discuss. Read, speak, write is a College Board. It's an AP strategy that's used a lot in high school, where they have to talk continuously for 1 minute about a topic after reading it, and then they take turns doing that. And these are all things that are just, it's so helpful for them to actually discuss what they're learning about. It makes them remember it more. And so I would say at home, one thing that you can do, you know, if you're cooking dinner or whatever, you have your kids doing homework nearby, ask them what they're learning about, you know, ask them questions, ask them higher level questions. Does this compare to anything else that you've learned before? You know, is this, what about this subject is difficult for you? Or, you know, just asking them, you know, for social studies is what I teach. And I told my students today, go home and, you know, at some point find someone in your household to tell about, you know, these people that we learned about today in class, and, you know, ask them questions and kind of foster that discussion, because that's going to help them in the long run if they can actually discuss what they're learning about. So here's just a few more on this slide. Strategies that we like to use. Stump your partner, try to ask them challenging questions. You know, you could do that, you know, with a subject that they're learning about, you know, ask them a question, or maybe you look something up online and ask them a question and then they have to find the answer. Anything to extend what they're learning at school, you know, to the home is definitely going to help. Let's see. This is where, these are some AVID strategies. AVID's a program that we are implementing school-wide next year. And these are 5 strategies I shared with teachers on getting students just to think critically about something and then also discuss it. And so we have Socratic Seminar, which is a whole group discussion that's led by the students. Philosophical Chairs is kind of an informal debate where the students actually have to take a stand on something. So, you know, discussing current events at home, asking the students what they think about, you know, maybe what's going on in the news, maybe the election, you know, discussing these things, bringing news up at the dinner table and getting their opinion, because often in class we ask them to form an educated opinion on certain things, especially with like something like Philosophical Chairs. And 4 corners, again, kind of picking a side, or you know, coming up with, and then having text-based reasoning for why they believe something. They can't just say, "Oh, I think this." They have to go back to usually an article or something like that to figure that out. And I think that's about it. The one other thing that has been really kind of a big push this year is levels of questions. And we have level 1 questions. Those will be your, you know, Google level questions. You can easily look it up. It has a correct, you know, 1 correct answer. And then we've also done a lot with level 2 questions. Level 2 questions would be, you know, make a comparison, summarize, something that's going to take a little bit more effort and you maybe just can't look it up. You're actually going to have to refer back to the text, or, you know, come up with a little bit lengthier explanation. And then we also have level 3 questions, which kind of extend, even further beyond the text. What if the South had won the Civil War, trying to kind of go outside of the box. And so we have some examples of question starters that we give the students, and really getting them to ask their own questions is kind of the next level of where we're going. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick presentation on collaboration, and you can always email me if you have questions or want some more information. My email address is tungm@fultonschools.org. Thank you so much.